What's going on, y'all? How y'all feel, man? Tune into another great episode of the Male Translations Podcast. We break down the difference of what men say and women hear, giving men a voice, giving women insight on relationships, the men's voice when it comes to relationships. So you probably already saw the title. You already saw, what we're going to be discussing tonight. Shout out to everybody that came out Friday night for the Battle of the Sexes relationship debate. We already chopping up that footage, man, and we're gonna get it out to you as soon as possible, man. And those that weren't able to attend, you can kind of see what we had going on that night, man. We had a lot of great topics, we had a lot of great discussions, and so it was a good night, man. It was a really, really good night, and so I'm eager to get that footage out to y'all. So it'll be out soon. So shout out to everybody that came through that night, man. Friday night. Everybody that's locked in right now, man, put in the comment section where you from, who you are. Maybe I want to give you your just due. As you see, Pastor Dozier is not in with me tonight, but I want to say some few things real quick, and I'm gonna get on out your way. You see the topic: do women choose husbands or men choose wives? All right. Now, the reason why this is so important to me, I kind of mentioned it in one discussion at the relationship debate, and what I saw was that a lot of women didn't understand that, as Pastor Dozier would always say, you can't decide who you are and what you are to a man, right? And a lot of women nowadays don't understand that. And so when we talked about it, the real discussion that this came from was when women cut their hair. Should a woman inform their man or talk to their man before they decide to have that big chop? When women, they say for us men, we have midlife crisis. We get to a certain age, now we want to get a Corvette, or we want to get a motorcycle. The same thing for men we see apply to women, where it seems as if a lot of women decide that, hey, at some point in their life, they want to cut their hair, they want a major change, and they just go for it, right? But all of that doesn't bode well when it comes to how a man feels if that said woman didn't inform her man or get his somewhat consent. Now, when we discussed this topic, a lot of women was like, well, are we married or are we dating? Right. So the statement was to say that, hey, if we're not married, don't expect me to, give too much credence to what you feel, how you think when it comes to what I do with my body or what I do with my hair in this aspect. Right. So I'm just giving y'all a little background. And the reason why we had that discussion, I mentioned to the ladies, I say, well, ladies, what ends up happening is not that the man, what's happening, Jeff? It's not that the man should have say so over what you should do with your body, but women choose us. Okay, what's happening, Jeff? But a man is looking for you to consider him in major decisions if you feel that he's important enough to consent for those decisions. And the reason why this is important is what the title says. Are women choosing husbands or are men choosing wives? All right. Now, we all know that, like the Bible says, hey, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing, right? We know that. That's the kind of cliche saying or scripture, right? But I think it get overlooked when people, especially women, decide who they're going to be with, right? And especially today, when women ladies, y'all have the ability and the means to take care of yourself. Now it becomes hard for you to hear and listen to anybody else but yourself. And the reason why this is important is because too many women want to be wives and want to be a man's lifetime partner, but refuse to, while dating, give him a level of respect to say, okay, well, if you don't like this, I might not move forward with this, right? And so women will say, okay, well, nah, but if he's my husband, I would be more considerate. Then if we're just dating, you never know what's going to happen. I'm not going to decide my future or what I decide to do behind how he feels it should go, especially if we don't know how long this thing is going to last. Understandable. And I heard that a lot on Friday night at the relationship debate. A lot of women was like, hey, listen, well, how do you know that the relationship is going to last? You're not, a woman don't want to make those decisions based upon a man that she may not know is going to be there. And so if they are married, then she will decide to, okay, consider how he feels about cutting her hair, right? And I said to her, well, when it comes to a man, he is looking, he's seeking, he's searching, and he's observing and assessing to see how close to wife material you are. And a lot of that comes from things that he sees in your actions, the way you consider him, the way that you think about him when it comes to being in a relationship prior to the marriage, right? So ladies, I'm only saying that because when it comes to marriage, most of the time it's men there are some women that propose, but majority of the time, 95% of the time, a man is getting down on one knee. And he's doing that based upon what he has seen thus far. He's seen you decide to, reach out to him. Hey, babe, you need some, or you want something? I'm going to get something to eat. But what do you want to eat? Right? Oh, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? Right. And that shows him that, hey, listen, when it comes to a lifetime union, those things are going to continue. And it's not going to have to be something that he should expect only when you pass that threshold of marriage, because that's why too many men don't go right into it, because they're like, you expecting me to bet on what you're going to give me after the said fact, when we know that if it doesn't work out, men end up getting the short end of the stick when it comes to divorce and alimony, child support, things of that nature, you name it, right? So a man is saying, okay, before I commit, I need to see what I'm committing to. And so therefore, ladies, all I'm saying is, when it comes to marriage, you're not choosing a husband. The man is choosing you. All right, I'm going to say that again. You're not choosing a husband. The man is choosing you. All right, I'm going to say that one more time. You're not choosing a husband. The man is choosing you. Now, here indeed, true indeed, he as a man has to show that he can be responsible. He can take care of a family. He can provide. He can protect. He can do more than just, lay up and make a few dollars and think that's it. But at the same time, what ends up happening is that, ladies, y'all get into this mode that y'all say, hey, well, shoot, excuse me, he's going to have to show and prove himself to me. And even in my book, Come and Talk to Me, The Women's Guide to Why Men Don't Communicate, that right there doesn't work for men. Because what oftentimes happens is, ladies, you put yourself in a position where you're saying, hey, well, once you prove to me, then I'll commit to you. And it's the total opposite of the way around. It's once you've proven that you're wife material to him, yes, he does have to show certain qualities. But once he sees it in you, most likely you're expecting him to propose to you, ladies. Am I right? So if you're looking for him to propose to you, then that means that you have to show him what he's proposing to. And so I wanted to discuss this just real quick, because I understand that a lot of women don't want to hear this, right? I know tonight is like, I don't really want to hear this. Like, what do women click off, right? And that's okay. I'm going to do me either way. So you may come back and refer to this in a later time or date, but it's going to be the same. The point is that, ladies, while you in your mind will say, I only will do certain things for my husband, but not for the man I'm dating. Well, the man you're dating could potentially be your husband once he sees you operate as if you want a marriage, operate as if that's what your goal is also. And in order to do that, there's certain things that you have to do to show that you consider his opinion, that you consider what he feels about certain situations. And ultimately, it's him who's leading anyway, right? So if he's leading, and ladies, you want a man to lead, well, then you can't buck the system and then say, well, I don't want to hear that, right? I mean, I don't want to do it. Like, okay, well, if you don't want that, then oftentimes what's going to happen is you're going to be alone. You're going to be by yourself so that you can be independent and make decisions that you want to without having to worry about what other person thinks, right? So that's the quandary right there. That's the problem right there, where you have a lot of women say, well, I want to be in a relationship, but I want to be independently in a relationship. And it's like, that doesn't work. That makes no sense. If you want to be independent, have your own own feeling of independence, that's fine. But most of the time you can't have that and be in a relationship, because they conflict against each other. They have a conflict against one another, right? I mean, think about it. One moment you're saying, hey, babe, I love you, whatever you want to do. Like we together, like, let's just make decisions together. Let's move as a unit. And then every so often you decide to break off from the unit and say, well, I'm doing this. And it don't matter. Like, whatever you think about that, fine, but I'm going to do me, and you're just going to have to deal with it. How does that work? How do we get back to union if in one second you're saying, hey, I want to move as a unit, and then the next second you say, I want to move individually? One of those is going to win at the end, right? You can't serve two masters like boss, right? So one of those is going to win at the end. Either your sense of individuality is going to take over your sense of union and commitment, or vice versa. That commitment is going to take over those feelings of being an individual, right? And so all I'm saying is, guys, we see it, right? But ladies, do you see it? Oftentimes it's your attitude, not attitude in terms of you snapping back and, you telling us how you feel about a certain situation, giving us your 2 cents. That's not what we talking about. We talking about your attitude in terms of how you feel about our commitment toward one another, right? And sometimes you have to be the example that you wish to see. So if you are a person that says, well, I do my thing, he does his thing, then we come together, that's not true commitment. That's not true union. And you know that. Oftentimes, over time, you recognize how souring, how poisoning that can be to a relationship, because in one moment, like I said, one of them is going to win, right? Either you're going to be an individual, free-minded, I do my own thing, I make my own decisions, or we make decisions as a unit. So when it comes to something like a man wanting to buy a motorcycle when he's 40, 50 years old, right? That midlife crisis, most women be like, why don't we talk about this? Because that's not something that I think is best for you. And I think that it could be leading to more danger, right? Now, when it comes to a woman cutting her hair off, there's no real danger. But at the same time, you may not recognize how much he was attracted to the woman he's seen when he met you, and how much he is attracted to that appearance, that look, that aesthetic. But when you cut your hair, yeah, it's because you want a big change. You want to, maybe you want to feel more youthful. Maybe you want to just say, hey, I want a shift in how I'm doing things. And maybe this is a symbolic way of doing that. All that is well and good. But if that distances you from your man or distances you from your husband, what good is that? Right now, you happy, he's mad, and you looking at him like, what? Like, you need to come on. And he like, really? And all that does is drive a wedge between the two of you. Right. If I'm saying something that's foreign, let me know, please. Comment section is open. Right down here is where you can put your comment. And all I'm saying is, too many times as men, we have conversations among our dogs, among our friends, among our boys. And oftentimes the struggle that we discuss within our own relationships with somebody else that's a person of trust is some of the things that we see and have to fight against, because, of course, we have to just deal with it. We have to just suck it up. We have to just accept it. And too many men are saying, man, listen, the days of just accepting it are over. The days of just putting up with it are over. And so, women, you're not choosing your husband. A man is looking to find a wife in you. So the qualities of a wife that says, hey, listen, well, if I want my husband to be the head of the household, then I'm going to go to the head of the household and see how certain decisions affect our household. Right? Because the household should be the most important thing. It should be the most important thing. And I've said this many times in videos, podcast episodes, and even tonight, all I'm saying is, ladies, what's more important to you? What's more important to you? Okay? Because at the end, what ends up happening is that what you say is most important to you a lot of times is not. I see so many women going in a direction away from what they truly want, all because now they can control what the outcome's going to be, right? What does that mean? What that means is that instead of saying, I'm going to try to make it work between a man, I'm going to get out there and, even though I may risk a little bit of scraped knees and a little bit of hurt, I'm going to go out there and press forward until I get what I want. Now, most of the times that isn't there for relationships, but it's there for school. It's there for going back and getting a degree. It's there for going back and pursuing some level of job on a certain level, right? These are things that we see as men. If I'm lying, fellas, let me know. Because oftentimes that doesn't better your household. That doesn't better your relationship or your marriage. And oftentimes you haven't really heard what your man said. You're listening. But in your mind, it's like you over talking him in your mind because you're thinking to yourself what you're going to do regardless. And you're just like, oh, okay, I understand. And I hear you. But in the end, you're just waiting for you to interject to really basically say why you still should be able to do it, why you're still going to move forward, and how he needs to just figure it out and find a way to accept you with that change, as if he doesn't have a preference himself, right? Should a man have a preference? Let me ask that. Should he be able to say, I don't really like this, and I'm not going to like it. And I'm being honest with you that I don't like it, because I'm not about to make you believe something that's not honestly my genuine truth, right? But what ends up happening is his truth that you say you consider, you really don't. Because like I say, what's happening? As I'm talking, in your mind, you talking. You ever drove home and then you just daydreaming until the point where you get off on the exit and you didn't realize that you was driving the last 10 minutes. You're like, dang, I'm so thank you, God, because I don't even remember, like, you was on autopilot, right? So when you got off that exit, all of a sudden in your mind, you backtrack and you say, I don't even remember the last 5 minutes of me driving. I was just whipping. I didn't even know. And the same thing applies to these conversations within relationships. I've seen it in my own household sometimes where it's like you're just waiting to interject. You're thinking and talking to yourself as I'm talking, and ultimately you don't really consider what I'm saying because in your mind, you know what you're going to do. And how is that going to bode well for a relationship? How is that going to bode well for you becoming a wife down the line? And I only say that because so many times women base what they're going to do off of, are we married or are we in a relationship? If you're in a good relationship, that's because he's seeing qualities in you that make him, when he finds the right time or gets his money right, he's going to marry you, right? But if you don't consider how he feels, if you go off on your own way and you're doing your own thing and totally disregarding how he feels about it, how is he going to say, you know what, this is an investment I can place my dollar into? This is somebody that I can bet my bottom dollar on. What? So, not to talk down on anybody, ladies, all I'm saying is if this has been you, if this has been something that you struggle with, where you say to yourself, you know what, like, I'm not going to be doing X, Y, and Z for somebody unless we're married, but you're not married right now. Understand how that thought plays into how you act in a relationship. I mean, does that make you more willing? Are you more willing to do certain things that may not be what your cup of tea is? Is it going to make you more willing to make adjustments to then make something stick? What I mean, make something stick is you with your partner, y'all connecting, y'all growing, and y'all are cleaving to each other, right? Does that make you more willing? Because in my mind, and guys I've spoken to, that makes you less willing, right? And especially when a woman, ladies, when y'all have reached a certain level of accomplishment, now you end up being less willing to cooperate, less willing to, in a lot of ways, defer, right? Because you feel like, well, I done made it this far. Can't nobody tell me nothing. And then you expect the man to see the value in the fact that you're in a position, you've made a certain amount of money, but yet when it comes to interacting with him, it's like pulling teeth. It's like walking on glass. So I'm saying, ladies, recognize that men are choosing wives. And for every time a woman says, the marriage rate is going down, I see somebody getting married, right? So for every time somebody says, hey, well, the marriage rate dropping and, people ain't staying together, I'm seeing men making commitments to women that they feel are good women. I'm seeing men saying, you know what, I really want a family. I want to change the generational curse that I've had living, having a single parent household, living with my mom. I wish my dad was in the house. So I want to make that change. I want to love my children. I want to be in the household with my lady. I want to love my lady. But men aren't doing that if they don't feel like they have that in their household already. So if you are a woman that says to yourself that it won't happen until we get married, don't expect that man to make that commitment. He would be a fool in his eyes and the eyes of his peers that he knows and that he respects if he decides to commit to something and stick to something that doesn't end up caring about how he feels, caring about what direction. And this is why we say a man is going to lead somewhere, because a man he's going to determine, he's doing an assessment as well. Ladies, you're not only one doing an assessment, but he's assessing to himself if this makes sense for him. Does this give him peace? Does this allow him to be the man that he wishes to be in a relationship, in this relationship? Because if he doesn't see those things, it won't be too long before he decides to move on. That makes sense, right? And so, ladies, I know a lot of you guys, have these feelings where it's like, well, what are we supposed to do? And most of the time, it's not about what you're supposed to do. It's just the fact that you don't want to do something that you feel like isn't going to work. So you decide to go into a path that you feel you can control the outcome. And a lot of times, if you just hear, listen. Like I said earlier, I said last week, I said a woman will do more for her children than she would for her man, even if that man was the man that she had children with. A woman will do more for her children. Listen to her children. What man want? What my little baby want? Okay, let me listen to what he's saying he needs from me, right? And then turn around, and even with that same man that she's had the children with, she won't exercise that same level of consideration and open that same ear to her man, to where it's like, okay, let me figure out what my man needs from me. What is he saying? What am I getting out of this? What am I getting from him, right? Because we see that, we recognize that, and say, dang. So, we said, children get loved unconditionally, men get loved under certain conditions. Okay, that's fine. But let me see how you treat me, is what men are saying in terms of their assessment. So, yeah, a woman can find a husband that don't look half as good as you. Yeah, that can happen. A woman can be sexy, hot, curves, everything, face, all that, right? And still have trouble with a man, to where you would wonder why she's not married. And men are saying, hey, you ain't got no man, you ain't got no husband, but you looking like this? Something ain't right. Something's up. And I'm going to look and see what is up, because before I met you, I recognized that a woman who has the appearance, when men are visual, and you have a visual aesthetic that's very pleasing to see, but yet for some reason, men seem to bounce off you like Ray, or, some kind of repellent. Men are saying to themselves, I'm going to keep a third eye on that too, because I recognize that that's unusual. And I say that to say that it's not always about your weight. It's not always about being the baddest, the finest, the curviest, the one with the most natural looking BBL, like that. Like, there's plenty of women that are attractive that can't keep a man. And you see some women who may not be in the best shape, who may not always look the best, right? But yet they represent themselves well. But yet, of course, there's levels. And yet, for some reason, they got a husband, they got kids, they got a family, they making it work, they buying their own house together, they doing things like this. And the women who are more attractive and have themselves more put together are asking themselves, how is it that you choosing her? Like, what does she have that I don't have? And what you don't recognize, ladies, is that consideration, that respect, that commitment to her partner is what that man saw, and the reason why he decided, you know what, I'm willing to commit to this life term, long term, right? And so I want for y'all to win. I want for my fellas to win. I hear too many men that are looking for a good woman, but yet have lost faith in women. And I see so many women who have lost faith in men, but yet what I'm seeing is the men that I speak to, they seem to speak to the fact that they do want something real. They just haven't found it, right? And ladies, some of the ladies operate like, okay, well, I'm looking for a husband, but yet what you don't realize is that you're not choosing the husband. What you look for is those prerequisite qualities that he may have. But once you find that man with those prerequisite qualities, now you need to turn up. If marriage is what you want, if being a wife and having a whole family dynamic, the white picket fence, all that, okay, if that's what you want, okay, once you see that man has the prerequisite qualifications, now it's on you to turn up. It's on you to show that you are worthy of being a wife. Because a lot of ladies think that you can title yourself, but how you title yourself a wife without a ring? Most wives would call that crazy. A real wife would say, okay, well, I have the ring, but yet you're wife material without a man? Like that doesn't make sense. And so other women would even speak down or look down like, well, first you got to get it together, because that don't make sense for you to say you wife. What man has validated this claim, right? So if there is a man who can say, true indeed, she wife material, it ain't happened yet, but she wife, then you can't really make that proclamation, right? And so what you can do is say, okay, well, let me find a man who has the prerequisite qualities that I'm looking for. And then I show and I reveal the true woman that I am. Show my feminine side, show my cooperative side. So show how I can add to his life and bring quality to his life, right? Bring a benefit to his life. But yet too many women are saying, well, you need to show me how much you can bring benefit to my life. Don't ask me what I'm bringing to the table. I am the table. What are you bringing to the table, right? And then when he hears conversation like that, that's a turnoff to a lot of men, because they're saying to themselves, well, at the very least, we both should have something that we feel we offer to the other person. And if a person says, what can you do for a man? It's the same as the question, what do you bring to the table? All we're looking for is a real answer. We're not looking to start an argument or start a debate. All we're saying is, in your mind, ladies, in your mind, woman, what is it that you can bring value to my life with? What is it that you're doing? And so that question needs to be answered. And women, I think a lot of you can find value in saying, okay, this makes sense, because I'm a man speaking on behalf of men. I'm not the only man, but yet I do know what men say when it comes to this, when it comes to relationships. I'm just the one who's being the messenger to you. Okay. And so whether you watch this now or whether you watch it later, the truth is going to be the truth, right? What they say, truth going to chase the light no matter what day that you said it, right? So we can always come back to this and know that this is factual. I would ask you to ask the men in your life how they feel about what I'm saying. So if you have cousins, brothers, uncles, friends, ask them what they feel about what I'm saying and if it's true or not. Because half, if not all, the men are going to say, yeah, bro, on to something. Yeah, he right. And that is one thing that we feel we're lacking as men. Women who are saying, hey, I want to be chosen, as opposed to positioning yourself and posturing yourself as if you're going to, or so are you proposing to me? Are you proposing to him? If he shows that he has quality, then you're going to go get the ring and say, baby, I want to marry you. If he's a good man, he's not even going to let you do that. He's going to be like, hey, listen, that's not even. And then number two, I don't even I'm not there yet until I have seen those qualities that I need to see in order to really validate the thoughts in my mind of who you are and what you are to me. Right. So that's all I want to say tonight. All right. Do women choose husbands or men choose wives? All right. Men are choosing wives on a daily basis. Men are making those commitments mentally, making those mental notes and saying to themselves, okay, I need to see these things. Once I've seen these things, then I know what I'm making a commitment to. And that's good for me, because regardless of the ups and downs, right? I always say, in order to enjoy the highs, you have to be able to ride out the lows as well. And as a man sees the ups and downs, he's already saying, okay, well, once we got to this low point, I like the way that she handled herself. I like the way she stuck to me. I like the way we stayed committed to one another during those tough times. And then when things are good, then he's saying, because of those tough times, because of, you being considerate of my feelings, because of you thinking of me so highly, I want to commit to this because this makes me feel good. This brings benefit to my life. This brings peace into my life. And all of those things make it to where I see you as a wife. And I want you. I told my wife this. I said, listen, if I have children, I would want my daughter to be like you. I told her that. I said, if I have a daughter, I would want my daughter to be like you, which is one of the reasons why I married my wife. But it's not the only reason. But I said that because that makes a difference. That really matters to men. And so, ladies, if you consider how a man thinks, it's going to bode well for what you want as far as your outcome. And that's all I'm going to say. It's your man, Clarence Brown, certified life coach, relationship coach. And you guys already know, man, it's a Male Translations podcast, breaking down the difference of what men say and women hear, giving men a voice, giving women insight on relationships. And we are the men's voice when it comes to relationships. I'm out. I'm going to see you guys next week. Myself, Pastor Dozier, will be right back at y'all for another great topic, man. Continue to support. Hit that share button. Hit that like button. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you are notified every time we drop a video, every time we go live. And we're going to see y'all one more again, man. Thanks for the love and support. I'm out. Deuces. Have a good night. Peace.